Broke out along the Qasr al-Nil bridge, and there have been clashes outside the Egyptian Museum, which is near the square. Loud gunfire was heard in the area and also here around the street called Sahel al-Galal. All right, let's go straight to Cairo and speak to one of our correspondents who's near Liberation Square for an update on what's happening right now. Please do describe the scene.
I'm crouched here on the barricade between the anti-government protesters and the pro-government protesters, watching them throw rocks and Molotov cocktails right in front of me. They don't seem to be very afraid of the pro-Mubarak crowd anymore. They've driven them back again and again. They're walking around picking up the debris that literally covers the entire ground here right near the museum. It's just full of rocks, and they're flinging them. The air is full of them, along with Molotov cocktails that are just being exchanged back and forth.
What we've been hearing reports from our sister network, Al Jazeera Arabic, that witnesses are saying they've seen live gunfire. Have you seen any of that in Tahrir Square?
It's possible that there was gunfire in other parts of the square, but where I am, which I believe is where the fiercest clashes are here near the museum, I've seen no gunfire. No gunfire from the pro-Mubarak side, none from the anti-Mubarak side. However, there are some government vehicles here, like an armored personnel carrier that's pretty close, it's about 75 meters away, and I believe it has fired in the air, as some others have before, to disperse. It will look to be mostly to disperse the pro-Mubarak crowd. It fires in the air.
Have you seen people being injured in this latest round of clashes, even deaths?
Yes, I've certainly seen people being injured. I haven't seen, with my own eyes, I haven't seen anyone being seriously injured. I've seen people take rocks in the arms and the legs. Earlier in the day, I caught two in my legs. I've seen serious wounds that I didn't see take place, but a lot of people here have bandages around their heads, blood on their shirts. I mean, the number of people here with bandages on their head, it's probably at least 25% of the crowd is some kind of wrapping.
What are people saying? Are they panicking? Are they frightened? Is this going to dislodge them from the area which, as we've heard described previously, they're barricaded into?
They're not. I mean, I've heard them make a few. Sorry, there was just a gunshot. I think it might have been the personnel carrier again. Some of them have told me, of course, that they don't like Mubarak, that Mubarak is a dictator, that Mubarak kills his own people, because that's certainly what they're perceiving here inside the barricades. The mood is confident right now, I believe, although, as I mentioned previously, a bit fatalistic, since they're worried about what the pro-Mubarak crowds are capable of, given that the perception is that they're backed by the government. So some people here are worried that these people are willing to go all the way and use deadly force to essentially squash them.
And still no sign of security forces, whether police or military, getting involved to try and calm the situation down. Are there at least emergency services? What are people doing about their injuries?
For injuries, I believe people are being shuttled towards the back of the square, away from the fighting. That's where most of the ambulances gathered tonight, by the American University in Cairo. That building is at the southern end of the square, and the ambulances were able to access the square that way and take people to the hospital. I think there were makeshift hospitals as well. But the security forces and the army have not intervened on either side.
It sounds incredibly dramatic there. We're going to leave you for the time being because we want to get a kind of perspective on what's going on in there. As you heard, an eyewitness there on the scene in Tahrir Square, which translates as Liberation Square, describing, and you could hear it in the background, the clashes that are going on right now as I speak. He was talking about people throwing rocks against each other, particularly from the pro-Mubarak side. There's no sign of security forces trying to calm the situation down. People are doing what they can to deal with the wounds and injuries that are coming up. We're going to speak to another of our correspondents in Cairo for more. Thanks very much. I guess the thing that I want to ask about is who is responsible for these clatters, because you're seeing in many reports that it seems apparent that it's coming from the pro-Mubarak side and that it's quite well organized. What is your sense?
Yeah, it's certainly well organized. Let me just tell you what's happening right now. The pro-Mubarak supporters who've been positioned on this bridge all seem to be moving away from it. They have already in the last hour or so moved back from the first line that's right in front of that bridge. There is a split in that bridge which has an offshoot. They have been standing there for a while just watching it. Almost seemed like they were planning something. What they're doing now is gathering at the lower end of that second split. I know this will sound quite confusing, but they're basically just moving away from that front line, moving towards another area and just looking over the bridge. I don't know what they're expecting. It seems like they're expecting something to happen. Very difficult to tell. They certainly have a very strong supply of Molotov cocktails. What I seem to have seen is that some cars have pulled up and people have run to them. I guess that could have been a resupply of petrol, of whatever it is, supplies they need, because this has been going on for a couple of hours now, and the barrage of petrol bombs that have been coming from the pro-Mubarak supporters into the opposite camp has been relentless. Obviously, the other side has been firing back too, but in no comparison to the supplies available to the pro-government camp.
Yeah, we've just had a report come in from Reuters quoting a witness as saying that Hosni Mubarak, the president's supporters, have opened fire at demonstrators in Tahrir Square, and 7 have been wounded. That might shed some light on the crowd movements that you have been seeing. This witness, as I say, is quoted by Reuters. Have you heard any reports about live fire being used?
Well, I've certainly heard live fire being used. It's unclear whether that is military fire trying to disperse crowds. There are reports from protesters that we've been getting that these pro-Mubarak supporters are armed and that they have been firing, but I cannot confirm who fired those shots. There were certainly episodes throughout the night where a barrage of gunfire could be heard. Earlier on, probably a couple of hours ago, automatic fire could be heard too. Again, now I'm seeing pro-Mubarak supporters running up the bridge in a frenzy. Not sure running away from, but things very unclear here at the moment, I have to say.
It does sound very chaotic. Thank you very much indeed for the time being. We're going to go back into the square, into the crowd. Photojournalist Yason Atanasiadis is on the phone and is right there in the crowd. What are you seeing and hearing?
Right now, what we're seeing is it's 4 o'clock in the morning here, and there is, as you're probably seeing on your cameras, I've heard just empty. There's been gunshots that rang out about half an hour ago, and we're hearing that 6 people were killed by them. Confused reports that some eyewitnesses saying that plainclothes policemen carrying weapons entered the square, opened fire. Others saying that the shots came from the direction of the Egyptian Museum. Not quite sure if this is snipers or some other kind of...
Yason, can I just ask you to clarify that?
Right now,
those are reports, are they? Sorry, Yason, can I ask you to clarify exactly what you're saying? You're hearing reports that are saying that snipers may have been positioned in the National Museum. Is that what you're saying? Which has been a police command center?
No, we're hearing conflicting reports that are saying, and right now, Molotov cocktail has just hit an area right in front of me, as crowds start to shout Allahu Akbar and moving toward the entrance of the square in mass. But what we're hearing is conflicting reports. One saying that there were snipers who were hitting people from an area of the square that was is where the Egyptian Museum is. Other reports saying that these were plainclothes police that entered the squares with weapons, and this is quite frankly quite clearly the more unlikely one. And shot people and then retreated away from the square. And if you've seen the layout of the square, it would be quite impossible to do that without them being apprehended in some kind of way.
How many people are left in the square? Have you seen any evidence that the anti-Mubarak supporters are armed in any way? How are they defending themselves in this situation?
The anti-Mubarak supporters have, at least we've seen, were cool over the last 12 hours and sat in one of the entrances to the metro, a dark entrance which was reeking of urine and feces. About 50 of them were stacked out there. They had on them long knives and daggers, mostly. We didn't see any evidence of firearms.